Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Julie Tumoon, and I want to welcome you to From Surviving to Thriving, 5 Steps to End Exhaustion, Balance Hormones, Eliminate Inflammation, and Live with Meaning. Now, I want you to get comfortable. You might want to grab a piece of paper and a pen. You're going to learn some new information in this webinar that you're going to want to find a way to save. I also want to invite you to grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea, grab some water, because I really want you to be able to be settled and present so you can get the most out of this. Now, you may have been to other webinars where a lot of time was spent on fluff at the beginning. That is not how I work, so we are going to dive right in. So sit back, open your mind, and let's get started. First, we really should go over who this is for. So if you're feeling exhausted, if you feel like your hormones are out of balance and haven't been balanced in a long time, if you feel like in your life you are terribly over-obligated, if your body has inflammation, if you commonly feel overwhelmed, if you've gained weight and just can't do anything to get it to move, and if you feel like in your mental space, motivation is kind of out the window, then this is for you. If what you really want is a life that is full of vitality, if you want balanced hormones, if you want a body that reflects that balance, if you desire your mind to have clarity and to be able to take that vision and turn it into something beautiful, if you want an emotional state that reflects all of that vitality and that sense of presence and beauty and peace and joy, then this is definitely the place that you're meant to be. So in the next 45 minutes, I am going to give you the steps to reverse exhaustion and really gain back what is sustainable energy. And I'm going to have that be true for you, even if when you're listening to this, it's hard most days for you to get off the couch. I'm going to give you the steps to achieve lasting hormonal balance and a metabolism that matches that. And you aren't going to have to do CrossFit or keto or count your calories. The steps to take 10 or 20 or even 30 years, seriously, off your biological age. And that's without taking hormones, doing injections, or paying for some crazy boutique supplements. And the steps to bust through inflammation forever so you can finally live without pain and puffiness and restricted movement. And that's going to be true for you even if right now just walking around the block is a challenge. And how to do all of this without having to have a whole team of therapists and chefs and doctors and coaches and massage therapists follow you around for the rest of your life. How to regain your mental edge and get your mood to a place of bountiful promise and get a bulletproof mindset. And you don't need espresso or coffee or stimulants to do it. And how to feel positive, seriously joyful, and actually calm every day without having to ditch the modern world and go live in an ashram. This is my promise to you, a 5-step strategy that can really get you to a place where exhaustion is a thing of the past, where your hormones are actually balanced, and where you get to live in a body that is no longer burdened by inflammation and consequently have the chance to live with meaning and joy and possibility and just positive, powerful promise. So I know that you want to learn that stuff, and I'm going to get to it really quickly. But first, I just want to take a minute and I want to check in with you to see where you're at right now. So does any of this sound like you? Do you wake up most days propelling yourself out of bed just on will and obligation? Because the truth is, you would just want to lay there forever. Do you feel stiff and sore and in pain and achy and unable to move the way you want to? And even when you get the most amazing massage, is it kind of just barely scratching the surface? Have you started to wonder, kind of like in the back of your mind without telling anyone, about, am I going to face chronic illness? How am I going to keep up this pace? Have you started to experience weight gain that doesn't budge, skin changes that make you feel old, moodiness and mental fog? And none of these things move no matter what diet or exercise or new supplement you try. Are you feeling old? You know, that physical wear down, that mental wear down, where you notice your resiliency just isn't even what it was a few years ago? Are you faking it? Most days, are you going through life putting on, the happy false front, but in reality, you feel worn out, depressed, and anxious, and you're to the point where you just actually don't really care? Guys, have you begun to secretly wonder, if I feel this bad now, what in the world is life going to be like when I'm 60 or 70 or even beyond that? How am I going to get there without just breaking? If any of this sounds like you, I have really good news for you. These aren't actually the problems. They're just symptoms. And they're symptoms of something that can be changed. They're symptoms of you haven't been able to make what I call the shifts. Once you make these shifts, you'll have the chance to wake up every single day and feel energetic and happy and joyful and powerful and hopeful and ready for what life has for you. Your body is going to feel sexy and so alive. And because of that, your relationships are going to transform. Your mind, it's going to be so clear. And there's no longer going to be that block or that ceiling on how much you can do or accomplish in your life. And that's going to reflect in your personal life and in your career. And you're going to just be so at ease. You're going to find that losing that extra weight is no longer a challenge, that your metabolism stays healthy all the time. You're going to find your body feels free and at ease and balanced and powerful, and you're going to be able to move in your life all the ways that you want to. And I guarantee you're going to not only feel younger, but you're going to look younger. And it's going to give you confidence in all aspects of your life, your relationships, your career. Think about walking into your office, walking into your job and feeling younger and vital and what that's going to do. And guys, even just when you're walking down the street, you're going to hold a whole new space. Now, you're probably wondering, how can she make these promises? Come on, who is she really? So here's who I am. My name is Dr. Julie Toomoon. I am a naturopathic medical doctor. I also am a practitioner of classical Chinese medicine. And I have been studying and practicing medicine for over 21 years. I have consulted with clients around the world, and focus has always been on helping them resolve these issues, these deep patterns of exhaustion and hormone imbalance and inflammation and frustration and overwhelm and fatigue, and get to a place of a dynamic and lasting health and balance and vitality. In fact, that's really what I'm known for, is demystifying those complex problems into simply solved patterns that we can do something about. So I talked to you about the shifts. So let me tell you how I discovered them, because there's a good story here. As I said, I've been studying and practicing medicine for over 21 years. And in working with clients over the years, what I've tried to pay attention to was, why were some people getting the awesome results, getting everything they asked for? Not only in my practice, but in the practices of my colleagues as well. And then why were other people languishing? Why were they stuck? Why did they get part of the way there? Why did they get results and then have them recede? How come some people could do it and others couldn't? So along the way, seeing this, finding it frustrating, noticing it in my own life as well, I decided to take a deep dive. And the purpose was to look and see, what are the factors that change the pattern so that people go from barely making it to getting all the way there. And that is where I found the shifts. Observing the practices in my own clinic, observing the practices of those I knew who were practicing healing, observing what worked in my own life, I was able to develop a set of classic shifts that must be made if you want the results you're looking for. There are 5 key shifts, and you must make them if you want to get all the way there. If you want to go from exhausted and hormonal and worn down and worn out and inflamed and frustrated and overwhelmed to energized, youthful, balanced, vibrant, and sexy, and if you want to hold that space for the rest of your life, then you have to make these 5 shifts. And I'm going to walk you through all 5 of them in this session. So let's get started. Shift number 1 may surprise you. Shift number 1 is actually my favorite. Your body is a divine miracle. Now, let's take this a little bit deeper. I want you to understand that your body is not just the thing that carries you around. It is not just how you walk from your car to your house. It is not just the thing you sit in when you're at your desk. It is not just a vehicle. It doesn't exist just to get you from place to place. In truth, it is utter magic. And the origin of that magic is divinity. Now, you may be thinking, I don't disregard my body. I don't think of it as something that just gets me from place to place. I exercise. I try to eat a good diet. I try to pay attention. That's fine. But let me ask you a few questions. Do you ever feel frustrated with your body because it is sore or because it carries extra weight? And even when you go to the gym and you cut your calories, that weight doesn't move? Do you feel like your body's just not listening to you? Do you feel like your body isn't responding the way you want it to? Do you get frustrated with your body when you're too tired, when it's hard to move, when you just don't have the drive to do anything more? Do you feel frustrated with your body if you get a headache or if your joints hurt? Well, do you find yourself saying, I know this isn't good for me, but I know I should rest, but, and filling in those blanks with a whole host of reasons why that's not ideal for you right now. So I want to point something out to you. Each of these is, in fact, a conversation where we're really regarding our bodies as something separate from the real us. And that real us, for most of us, is the voice that speaks in our head. And in each of these conversations, we're really maintaining a sense of separateness. Our body is separate from us. And in maintaining that separateness, we're negating the magic that our body represents. Because guys, they really are magical. I mean, every day your body does things that totally defy logic. Think about it. I mean, just the truth that when we don't feel well, that when we're exhausted and hormonal and inflamed and frustrated and overwhelmed, we wake up, we walk, we talk, we run, we work, we digest food, our heart keeps beating, our lungs keep inhaling and exhaling. is utter magic. The truth is that everything about us points to this magic. And learning to invoke this in everything we do and every food we eat and every supplement we swallow means that we actually are harnessing something so much bigger than ourselves. And when we approach restoration of ourselves from this place, the secret is you're tapping into something way bigger than biology. You're tapping into something way bigger than biochemistry. And the source of that can do 1,000 times more than you've ever imagined. And that's why this is the first shift. The second shift builds on that one. And it is about understanding the patterns within the body. So everything in your body happens in identifiable and intelligent patterns. These patterns are complex, but they leave traces. And if you know where to look, you can find them. They are way bigger than biology. They are way bigger than biochemistry. Nothing in the body that happens is an accident. Nothing in our body that happens is a mystery. And if you know where to look, and if you learn how to read the signs, you can address hormones and energy and inflammation and digestion and the nervous system and how your brain works and how your mood works and why we get chronic illnesses. Simply, directly, intelligently, on target, and super effectively. But sadly, there's a lot of people out there giving you advice on what to eat and what to swallow and what to do with your lifestyle that don't know anything about these patterns. And consequently, they give you advice that is based on their theories or what a book says or what someone else said. And as a consequence, what they're giving you is more like, this works for most everyone. This works for this condition. This works for this problem. And not, hey, you have a unique template. Here's what's exactly off in your body, in your system. We're going to do that specific just to you. And as a result, many people, and this may be true for you, have wasted so much time and effort on diets that were one size fits all, on supplement routines that were just because someone thought they should, on what a book says, on what a blogger said, on what a health coach said. And as a result, we end up, maybe gaining some ground. Maybe something works for us for a year, maybe 6 months. And then we notice the same symptoms cropping back forward. Maybe we start having new symptoms. And we get frustrated and we get a sense that it's not going to work for us ever. And this is where a lot of people are. So here's the good news. Understanding the patterns is not something that you can't learn to do. And once you learn how to recognize the patterns and tap into that, you can take direct and intelligent action and do more with less. Because ancient people have been writing about this forever. It's not mystical. It's not reserved for a small few. It's just the essential step that has to be taken if you want to make that progress, if you want to learn how to treat your body as its unique and beautiful and mysterious template. So let me introduce you to Elizabeth. She presented to me with common symptoms. She was tired, sort of some indications of hormonal imbalance, occasional body pain and frustration. Honestly, she would have said, well, I know I'm tired, but I think I just need like a weekend off. That was kind of the place where she started. So she'd had previous lab tests. And for the most part, they were kind of like, oh, your thyroid might be a bit weak. But when we started to look at what the patterns were revealing, we saw something much more impactful, something that she was really not feeling currently, which was extreme fatigue. to the point where her cell membranes were not passing information correctly, to the point where her mitochondria were no longer making energy, to the point where when her body sent out hormonal messages, pretty much nothing was happening. She was at a place where much of her body processes were approaching incapacitation. And in my terminology, she actually displayed such low vitality that it could be called a death pattern. There was so little energy left in her system. If we wanted to draw an analogy, we could say she was running on fumes. Basic life support was barely working. Now, I told you, she would have said, maybe I'm a little bit tired. But something happens when you're able to show the patterns. And as she really thought about how she'd been feeling, the reality hit her that she was totally worn out. She just had been convincing herself that it was all good, using mindset techniques, using a positive outlook. I can keep going. It's no big deal. Comparing herself to others. So-and-so does it. They're not complaining. And she'd been propping herself up with her mind and had actually been pretty numb to what her body was really feeling. So we started to implement real processes specific to her pattern. Her energy improved. She'd been having symptoms for years, some pain, anger, frustration, weird bouts of frequent sweating, and it all started to disappear. Her mindset became more positive. Her sleep became more sound. And as a result, her life started to transform. And she came to me one day and she said, you really did save my life. Because along the way of healing and finally getting back in touch with her body and connecting herself to her body, she had begun to realize that she hadn't been living in a long time. And that in fact, she'd let that numb sensation take her to the brink of death. Because there was just going to be so little energy left in her body that she just would have collapsed. And she started to feel that. And knowing that and the chance to do something different was so empowering for her. So this brings us to the third shift, which is also a bit of a secret weapon. And that is that we must then take pattern-specific actions. We could consider this too acting according to what the body really wants done. This is important. I've pointed out to you, your body is a magical structure with its origin in the divine, and that nothing that's happening is mysterious or accidental, and therefore it is all demonstrations of disconnect, which means that when it's time to repair, we have to take specific and intelligent action based on the patterns that our body is showing us so that we can both address what it really wants addressed and not waste any effort. This is why the divine nature of us is my first shift, because this is where we tend to go into a place where we separate the me in my head from the me that is my body. And even healers sadly kind of do this by working solely off of theory, or what they most like to do. And when we take pattern-specific actions, we can address energy and metabolism and hormones and inflammation and our mental space without wasting any effort or any time. This takes away all the guesswork. This takes away all the one-size-fits-all. This takes away all the just theory. And it lets us make every action count. If we contrast this to the way that most healing is being practiced today, we see a big division. Most healing kind of operates on a one-size-fits-all model. So everyone with thyroid problems should do this. Everyone with thyroid problems should avoid these foods. Everyone with an adrenal problem should do this. Everyone with hormone problems should do this. Everyone who has pain should follow the same anti-inflammatory diet. Take the same supplements, do the same lifestyle activities. There is no honoring the unique patterns in us in those processes. And it doesn't serve us. We might gain a little bit of ground, but we can't get all the way there following that model. my personal theory on ideal diets is. This is so common now. We have an internet that is full of awesome information, but it's also full of people writing blogs and hosting websites about their personal theories based on what worked for them, which is only going to work for a small handful of the population. And a lot of times people apply those processes and diets and then they fail for them. And then they feel like they failed. They didn't fail. You didn't fail. It's that wasn't right for your patterns. Or how about the doctor so-and-so says, hey, this is how our Paleolithic ancestors ate. This is another big problem, that we're not basing it off of classic ancient medicine. I would be all good with that. This is how classical Chinese medicine says we ate. This is how classical Ayurveda says we ate. This is taking evidence and compiling it in a way that works for the person making the case. It's not necessarily good for everyone, and it totally ignores how food interacts with our body. It's all based off of the components, calories and fat and saturated fats and micronutrients. How about the take every possible nutrient you can think of program? I see this all the time. People walk into my office with, a brown grocery bag full of supplements because along the way, whether it was because they picked it up off the shelf at the health food store, the clerk told them, other practitioners told them, either way, it was kind of like every time they read an article, oh, I need to take that one too. Well, supplements are messages. They're bits of information. Every time you take a nutrient, it is putting information into your body. So let me put it to you this way. If you just take everything that anyone has ever written about, it is like me putting you in a room with 50 people, having them all scream instructions at you, and then me expecting you to have heard all of them and not have gotten flustered. Is that what you want for your body, for your system? No, of course not. How about the everyone needs to eat big salads, or the you just need a good cleanse program? Cleansing is not something to be adopted lightly. In order to adequately cleanse the body, your systems of elimination have to be working in a really top shape. So the liver, the kidneys, the gut, you have to have all of those pieces working. And I'm telling you right now, exhausted people do not have functional livers and kidneys and guts. And as a result, you go to the person who, especially come springtime, right? It's everywhere. Do my 30-day cleanse. So you start swallowing the protein powder and the fiber pills and the cilantro extract. And the person tells you, oh, this is going to get rid of everything, all your parasites, all of it. That is not how our body works. Those toxins are stored in dynamic relationships to other minerals, to emotions, to hormones, to food residues. You don't just boot them out in 30 days. And doing so can really stir up a lot that can actually cause a whole lot of problems in the future. How about it's always an adrenal problem? Well, I can tell you right now, the adrenals are frustrated in pretty much everyone in the modern world, but treating it all the same is a real dangerous game to play because many people with adrenal problems are so worn down that you can't go just replenishing the adrenals straight on because you're just going to leave them overstimulated, and that's no good. Everyone needs coconut oil, the panacea for the modern age. Not everyone needs coconut oil. Not everyone can process coconut oil. Or the keto diet. Now it's being hailed as, the solution to obesity and hormone imbalance. Well, I'll tell you, every woman, myself included, who's ever done keto has ended up with massively disrupted hormones and sleep cycles and moods. And the weight loss was transient because the diet is impossible to maintain. And then the people who tell you to cycle the carbs are just being ridiculous. That is not a sustainable way to eat, nor is it ideal for us. And it causes a huge amount of biological stress. The use of bioidentical hormones is just masking, just pretending everything's okay. Chronically drinking green smoothies, eating your superfoods as if, these special nutrient-dense foods, which mostly, don't even come from North America, are the solution to our modern-day ills. That's naive. This way of thinking says, I can apply a one-size-fits-all model to different conditions like fatigue and inflammation and hormonal issues. And I'm going to tell you that it's going to give you specific and individualized and lasting results, but that's just not true. It's not possible that that's true. And the real reason is because, remember, our body is like a bountiful structure of the divine. It's magic. And it tells us exactly what it needs. It does not hide that from us. And those patterns save us time and effort, and they let us be so on target with exactly what is needed in those cells and at the cell membranes and in the mitochondria, and to balance the hormones and to get the gut back to function. Which is why then when we do pattern-specific nutrients, this is like taking just what the body needs. This is exactly what it is. We take exactly what the body needs. And we supplement only those things. So remember when I said kind of taking this broad-based approach of let's just swallow everything possible. It's like putting you in a room with 50 people and having them scream at you. This is like putting you in a room with a beautiful choir that's been tuned together. And they're singing the most beautiful songs you've ever heard. And as a result, you're able to relax and get into it and feel present and joyful. That's what it's like for your body when you respond with only what it has asked for. It allows it to take part in the music, and that allows everything to come into alignment. The same thing is true of diet. When I say an alchemically specific diet, I'm talking about something more than calories and fat grams and carbohydrates. I'm talking about the way that food interacts with our bodies. I'm talking about if something is warming or cooling. I'm talking about if something creates dampness and mucus or phlegm, or whether it's drying. I'm talking about whether it can build our blood or deplete it. I'm talking about these nuances of food that people have been talking about historically for thousands of years, but that so few are applying when it comes to the spheres of healing and diets, because they're focused on the biochemistry and the biology rather than the inherent relationship between the foods that we're meant to eat and how we're meant to eat them. This is an alchemically structured diet. And when you combine these things, we get to a place where we can do total body restoration. We don't have to work piece by piece. We get to do it all at the same time, and we get to do it by harnessing that energy, that divinity, that amazing power that has always been there in our body system, and using it towards our best possible outcome. This is precision. This is specific. This is taking those patterns and then harnessing the alchemy of the foods, harnessing the alchemy of the nutrients. And that way we get to maximize body healing and restoration. And we get to do it with the least amount of chaos and the least amount of effort. Let me introduce you to Carolyn. Carolyn came to me utterly worn out and so inflamed. She had severe chemical, environmental, and food sensitivities. Her body was constantly in pain and a sense of discomfort. And this was even to the point where she couldn't wear regular shoes because her feet felt so off. She was so tired that she was sleeping a minimum of 16 hours a day. She could barely think most of the rest of the time she was awake. So imagine that. When she's not sleeping, she can barely think. Before me, she had done detox, IV therapy, hormones, supplements, and honestly, almost every anti-inflammatory diet principle you could think of. So when we first analyzed what pattern she was in, what we found was severe cellular fatigue. We found that her thyroid tissue response was diminished by over 80%. Her adrenal response was similarly diminished. She had significant aluminum toxicity. And she had a strong defensive pattern in her emotional and spiritual aspects of herself. So what that means is her physical body decline was great, but she was also kind of putting up walls throughout her life. She was in a place where all the efforts she was making were almost like she was a car on ice, the tires just spinning, no traction. So she was wasting valuable time and energy, basically spinning out. And in doing so, she was getting more and more disconnected from not just her physical body function, but the connections there between her emotion and her spirit. So we applied specific therapy based on her patterns. So we used supplements based on her patterns. And honestly, initially she was scared because she had so many environmental and chemical sensitivities that all of her previous supplements had caused major irritation in her system. So she was very cautious and worried that this was just going to be a repeat of the old patterns. We also had her adopt a very specific alchemically structured diet. So in 3 months, she wasn't sleeping all day, which meant she could be up and interact with her family more. Her sensitivities had decreased over 50%. She could put on real shoes. Her mind was clear, and as a consequence, she was experiencing a significant return of meaning and purpose in her life. So at this point, we know we have to shift our beliefs. And we have to do that in very strong accordance with this fact that we are not the us in our head. We are a total structure that has its origin in the divine. We are unique and we are magic. And that unique magic nature tells us how to function. And when we're out of balance, we can find patterns that will tell us how we've become out of balance. So we can respond with precision and intelligence to what exactly has gone wrong in that system. And then we can make targeted and intelligent actions based on the information so we can dynamically change what has gone off and bring things back into alignment. And in doing so, we get to work with the whole system at once. We don't have to work piece by piece. We don't have to work on theory. We don't have to work on guesswork. We get to be targeted, precise, and intelligent in all of those aspects. And we get to then recover not just our physical health, but the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health all together, all at once. So let's look at how to ensure that by doing all this, we get to make it hold and we get to remove any obstacles and stay on track. The fourth shift is leverage your efforts. So if you're already feeling exhausted, the last thing you really want someone to say to you is, we're going to work so hard. I know this. I've been here. In an exhausted, worn out, hormonally funky place, holding extra weight. I walked into a CrossFit gym and that is pretty much exactly what the trainer said to me. We're going to work so hard. And in doing so, that's how we're going to get your metabolism to move. And we're going to get you strong. And that's how we're going to get the fat to come off. Oh, and we're going to give you a really restrictive diet too. Well, in most cases, working harder is the furthest thing actually from working smarter. Here's what you really need. You need more rest. You need less movement. You need more time spent unoccupied. I know that that sounds crazy to you because that is not what the world says about weight gain and hormone imbalance and low energy levels. The world says you need to move more. You need to access your will. You need to access your drive, right? That's what the personal trainers are going to say. That's what the health experts all say. That's what the TV says every day. But that's treating you like you're just like everyone else. And it is totally negating what you know to be true. You know you don't lack will or grit or drive. You know that you're actually just exhausted and worn down and worn out. You've been stressed out for so long that there's almost nothing left in the tank. Your fuel tank is empty. Which is why when we really want to leverage our efforts, we actually do less. And we do it in the context of a total health restoration plan and program. And this is key. I am not telling you to just lay down on the couch and watch TV. What I'm saying is that when you put all the pieces together, when you identify the pattern, then you act intelligently, then you move into the aspect of leveraging your efforts by increasing your rest and diminishing your obligation. Something magical starts to happen. You need less obligation. You need to stop feeling like you have to keep up with the voice in your head and the people around you. You need to allow yourself to be in just this one moment. You need to allow yourself to tap into creativity. And I guarantee you what's going to happen next is that you'll be more on point, on task, and on target than you ever thought was possible. I want to introduce you to Julie. She came to me fatigued. Her menstrual cycles were disrupted. She had headaches and body pain and totally disturbed sleep. I don't think she'd slept in years. Over the past 2 years, she had run the gamut, seriously, with diet. So she'd thought maybe vegan is right for me and done that. And then she'd gone to the sort of McDougal, like, okay, no oil vegan and like lower protein. Lots of green smoothies. By the time she came to me, that having not worked for her, she had moved on to a basic, quote unquote, nourishing diet. So aspects of keto, lots of raw, like salads and smoothies, taking supplements, the common ones like minerals and multivitamins and essential fats and some antioxidants. She kind of was doing like the hodgepodge of what was most predominantly recommended in the blogosphere. Let's just put it that way. Her initial pattern analysis showed severe cellular fatigue, a 60% decline in tissue thyroid response, a 60% decline in tissue adrenal response. She was stuck in a really high hyperestrogen state. So her inflammatory potential was off the chart, as was, the potential for future illnesses like cancer and heart disease, diabetes. She also had the sort of mindset of a person who takes on too much and didn't let other people take care of her. And that was clear in the pattern analysis. So we applied nutritional therapy specific to those patterns. And of course, had her adopt an alchemically specific diet. We had her stop all workouts and had her dedicate more time to doing nothing, spending more time relaxing outside, and had her discontinue all of her other supplements. Now, within 4 months, her cycles had regulated, her headaches were gone, her body pain had disappeared, her energy was so improved. And by releasing the unnecessary obligations and taking more time to rest, she found that, her marriage got better. Her relationship with her kids got better, but also she was more productive at work. So she was starting to actually have dramatic improvements in what she needed to do to make a living as well. And she'd lost 20 pounds. And she was feeling stronger and younger than ever. This is what the power of really leveraging your time can do. Rest is not a luxury. It is something essential that we all need. So the fifth shift, which is really key, is that we need to seek guidance. Everyone needs guidance. It is not a point of weakness. It's actually a point of power. It is the only way that we invoke real accountability and adopt new ways of thinking. I want you to think about it. By watching this webinar, you've just been introduced to some new ways of thinking. And mindset influences action, then creates outcome. And this is where guidance comes in. Mindset is influenced by so many things. And often what we really need is someone to keep pulling us back into the place of actionable mindset. Because the thing is when it slips, then your actions take on less intelligent form. So we get depressed and we get thwarted and we start to not focus on the goal and what the outcomes should be. And then we change our diet. We start eating pizza. We start eating French fries. We start drinking those green smoothies again. Because we go back into the realm where we're buying into hype, not specifics. And then we don't get the outcomes, just like we've been doing for so much of our life. So when we can craft a mindset and focus that is based on the truth, the real patterns, and the real outcomes, and stay focused in that sphere, then we can take intelligent action, and then we get to have the outcomes we've always looked for. If you want to really transform your life and not just like reverse a few things, but give yourself a sense of certainty, give yourself a sense of joy and possibility about the next 10, 20, or even 50 years, I'm telling you, it's going to take time and expertise. Understanding the body is not something that just happens overnight. Just because someone has had personal success working on a health condition does not make them an expert in understanding the body. It takes most good healers more than 20 years to learn what really takes place in the body, how to adapt and respond to different situations, which kind of makes going it alone sound a little bit crazy. I myself have invested easily more than $250,000 in coaches and training and remedies and processes and therapies. And every time I went to do this, I get it. It was a big decision, but it's one that I am grateful every single day that I've made because it has paid off exponentially. Because in doing so, I know how to avoid heart disease and cancer and other chronic diseases. I know how to keep my mindset clear and focused. And therefore, I can get to where I want to be. Doing all of this has probably saved me more than $1 million in future expenses because I'm not going to be at risk for diabetes. I'm not going to be at risk for cancer and heart disease. These are major things. Don't go it alone. Find the best out there and literally just pay whatever it takes to work with them because your life is too precious to waste spinning your wheels. So today I promised that I would show you a 5-step method to reverse exhaustion and gain back true sustainable energy, even if you can barely get off the couch right now. How to achieve lasting hormonal balance and a metabolism that shows that without doing CrossFit or keto, or even counting calories. The key is to taking 10, 20, or even seriously 30 years off your biological age and doing that without taking hormones or injections or paying for some crazy boutique supplements. And how to bust through inflammation forever. So you get to live without pain and puffiness and restricted movement and have that be true for you even if right now it's hard to think about walking around the block. How to have all of this happen without having to pay for a team of doctors and therapists and chefs and massage therapists to follow you around the rest of your life. How to regain your mental edge and elevate your mood and to craft a bulletproof mindset without needing espresso to do it. How to feel positive, joyful, and calm every single day. And to be able to do that without needing to leave the modern world and join an ashram. This is what you'll need. You need to know that you're a divine miracle and act accordingly. You need to understand the unique patterns that your body's displaying. You need to then take precise and intelligent pattern-specific action. Leverage your efforts with dynamic rest and less obligation. And then you need to seek guidance so that you stay on track and get all the way there. These 5 shifts alone are all it takes to end exhaustion and balance hormones, and reverse inflammation, and overcome frustration and overwhelm forever. So now you have a choice. You can take everything I've said and just keep doing it the same way you have been. You can keep swallowing the one-size-fits-all diets and supplements and lifestyle plans. You can keep treading water, or you can choose something totally different for yourself. You can choose to end the cycles of exhaustion and imbalance and inflammation and frustration. You can choose to take the step onto the path of vitality and brilliance and joy and happiness and love and possibility, and you can seize that for the rest of your life. So if this is the path you choose, then this is what I have for you. Over the next 2 days, I've set aside some time to talk. And I'm going to get on the phone with you and talk with you one-on-one about how I can help you end these cycles and get your life back on track. Whatever your biggest challenges are, I've already seen it. I know how to overcome it. I know how to give you the direction. We will get on the phone for about 45 minutes. And in this time, I'm going to work with you to create a step-by-step plan to end these cycles of exhaustion and hormone imbalance and frustration and overwhelm and inflammation forever. And the cost for this, it's absolutely free. On this call, we are going to do 3 things. Number 1, we are going to identify exactly what the obstacles are. Number 2, we are going to identify where the stress is in your system and in your life. And number three, we are going to identify exactly what will need to change for you to have a different experience. Now, there's only one catch. This isn't for everyone. I can only work with people who are really ready to have a dramatically different experience in their health and their life. I can only work with people who are willing to shift and let go of old beliefs and patterns and adopt new behaviors. And I can only work with people who will follow through and take action. If this is you, then great. Book a session. You may be wondering, why is she doing this? I'm doing this because I love to give back. I love to help people. I cannot stand seeing people missing out on their best life. And I want to help as many people as possible experience real and lasting change. And I know that you might be a person who wants me to help you do this. And if you do, we can discuss and see if it's a good fit for both of us. And if you don't, that's totally fine too. So if you want to talk, go to drjulie2moon.com/apply. That's drjulie2moon.com/apply. When you get to that page, you'll have access to my schedule. You can pick a time that works for you, and then it'll take you to the next page, and that page will give you access to my application form. A few simple questions. Fill that out. I will get all of it, and at the time you choose, I'll get on the phone with you, and we'll go through that process. I've really enjoyed being here with you today and sharing with you these ideas, and hopefully it's been insightful, if nothing else, for you. When you have a chance, go to drjulie2moon.com/apply and pick your slot. And while you write that down, and I'm going to try to make a link appear up off to the right as well, I want to tell you about one other person. My client, Sarah. Sarah is a very busy mother, 5 children, all homeschooled. And when she came to me, she was exhausted. She was having hormonal issues. She was having a lot of mood changes around her cycle. And she was really kind of stymied. What do I do? Because I've already been eating, this clean diet of mostly organic foods, almost everything homemade. And there isn't much time left in my life to make time for myself. So she started to apply these principles because we were able to identify what wasn't working. And in doing so, just within a month, Sarah says, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much better I feel and how much I'd been ignoring myself. And I've been learning to take time to rest and restore and give myself the chance to have the kind of downtime that I need in the context of restoring what's been missing. And she said, this has made all the difference. Like, I'm not cranky with my kids. I'm not yelling at them. I'm not snapping at them. I'm not snapping at my husband. I'm able to get more done. And because of it, I feel so joyful and present, and it has made all the difference. This is what I want for all of you. A joyful presence and energy and vitality. You deserve all of it. This is your birthright. Healing is your birthright. My name is Dr. Julie Two-Moon. I want to thank you for joining me. Don't forget to go to drjulie2moon.com/apply. Many, many blessings.